Hi, my name is Julian, and I've been working with Frida, Nora, and Charlotte on an assignment about Scotland. And I would like to start with a look at some important historical events that has contributed to how Scotland has become today. Scotland were the first country to join in on the forming of the United Kingdoms of Great Britain. This meant that they were in a union with England. The union was formed 1st of January 1801, and the union meant that England would have a lot of influence on Scotland when it came to politics. The Union also had great influence on Scotland through the fact that England were one of the first countries to have an industrial revolution, and Scotland were also affected by this. Through the union with England, Scotland actually had a fairly early industrial revolution themselves. The fact that Scotland had such an early industrial revolution is quite odd considering their economical and technological state, the state we're in at the time. The only reason why Scotland had the ability to develop the criteria for such a revolution was with help from England. Now, Charlotte is going to tell us a little more about the geography of Scotland.
Scotland occupies the northern third of the island of Great Britain. The total landmass consists of 78,772 square kilometers. It is bounded by England in the south and on the other three sides by water, by the Atlantic Ocean on the west and north, and by the North Sea on the east. The country consists of a mainland area besides several island groups. The mainland can be divided into three areas: the Highlands in the north, the Central Belt, and the Southern Highlands. The Northern Highlands are mountainous and divided in two by the Great Glen. The highest mountain in Scotland are here, including Ben Nevis, which is the highest mountain in Scotland, which extends 1,344 meters above sea level. All mountains that are higher than 900 meters are known as Munros. The Central Belt is generally lowlands, and it also contains the industrial belt and most of the population. The Central Belt is often divided between the West Coast areas around Glasgow and the East Coast areas around the capital Edinburgh. The Southern Highlands consist of a range of hills and mountains. Scotland has over 790 islands, divided into four main groups: Shetland, Orkney, and the Hebrides, which is later divided into the Inner Hebrides and the Outer Hebrides. The Scottish climate is temperate and oceanic and usually very changeable. The land is warmed by the Gulf Stream from the Atlantic. The temperature is generally lower than the rest of the UK, and the maximum temperature during the winter in the valley is around 6 degrees. And in the summer, and at summertime, it has a maximum temperature of 18 degrees. And rain varies across Scotland, but it can rain any time during a year. In general, the west of Scotland is usually warmer than the eastern area because of the Gulf Stream. A little place called Tiree in the Inner Hebrides is the sunniest place in the country, and as a little fun fact in the end, it actually had 300 days of sunshine in 1975.
Scotland has a population of 5 million people. It had been number 112 largest country of population if it had been an independent state. Scotland is a part of Britain along with Ireland, Wales, and England. Britain does not have an official language, but Scotland alone has all three official and recognized languages: English, Scottish Gaelic, and Scots. They speak English with Scottish accent, but population are required to support both Scots and Scots Gaelic. Over the past century, the number of native Gaelic speakers declined from around 5% to just 1% of the population. The language is mostly only spoken in the Western Isles. In 2005, it was decided by the law that the Scottish Parliament had to offer a limited range of public services where Gaelic and English languages should receive equal respect. 30% of the population of Scotland speaks fluent Scots. Public support for Scots from the government Britain grew slowly after being depressed for nearly 3 centuries. The Scottish government offers financial support and want to expand Scots language dictionary in order to prevent the language from die out.
A big part of the Scottish culture is the music, and one of the most famous traits is the bagpipe. Fiddle and accordion are also traditional Scottish instruments who have had a big influence on Scottish dance bands in the country. Traditional Scottish music was continued by Scottish immigrants to North America and had a significant influence on traditional music there, for example, country music. Scotland has their own traditional sport competition, like the Scottish Premier League, Scottish Football League and Scottish Rugby Union. Football is one of the most popular sports in the country, both playing and watching. Scottish Football Association is the second oldest football association, and the national football team hosted and played in the world's first international football game. Scotland is the country where golf was invented, and is famous for its many golf courses, many very old and tradition-filled. Scotland is also the home of curling. Although it's no longer as popular as it is in Canada, it's still more popular in Scotland than it is in other European countries. The Manhood Samples Highland Games is another special arrangement for Scotland, which is a substantive part of its national sport culture. The original games were arranged by clan leaders and were both strength and art exercises. They had to show themselves as warriors by throwing both sticks and heavy rocks, and the women had to dance and be the entertainment for the chiefs.